Welcome to the Head Foundation Dialogues. I'm Michelle, your host for today. To all the audience in the room, thank you for joining us today, whereby we have Dr. Jack Sim to speak about the transformative power of leadership and clean toilets. But before we start, let me share about the Head Foundation and the work we do. The Head Foundation is an international charitable organization registered with the Commissioner of Charities in Singapore in 2013. It was set up to carry out philanthropy works in education, but later extended its remit to include healthcare to improve lives in Asia, particularly the less developed parts of Southeast Asia. It supports and funds sustainable education and healthcare projects that develop social and human capital. It strives to identify needs and formulate solutions by working with a network of global and regional universities, public institutions, and domain specialists through the sponsorship of policy, pedagogical, and clinical research. To promote awareness of pertaining issue, the Foundation also conducts regular public events and workshops, whereby ideas on education, healthcare, science, culture, and the environment are presented and discussed. The Head Foundation also conducts public dialogues, like the one today. So this dialogue provides a dynamic platform for discussions among top leaders to exchange ideas and perspectives around salient issues in education, healthcare, human capital, and leadership development. So that's all about Head Foundation. So to the audience who are online with us today, we would like to encourage you to participate by posting your question in the Q&A. So Dr. Jack will present first, and after that, we have a discussion. And now, let me introduce you our speaker for today, Dr. Jack Sim. He's best known to the world as Mr. Toilet, the world's #2 man. His work ranges from equipping and improving conditions for people without proper sanitation. Just think about the infrastructure and the education related to sanitation. And more recently, he's also looking at tourism toilets. But broadly speaking, there is this sanitation value chain, which we learned from him, and it includes market-driven solutions, which enables people to be employed, self-sufficient, and also works at elevating poverty. And what are the results of his work so far? After 2 decades of the movement he has launched, some of the statistics we have: 2.4 billion of people have gained access to proper sanitation. We have improvement in health outcomes. And just imagine children in school, being able to go to school, be in better health, have better school environment conditions. This will definitely lead to a longer-term effects on improved national outcomes, whether it's on the economic or even in reducing inequality. There's a lot more effects and results that Dr. Jack has brought about. So I'll let him share a lot more on it. And today, we're happy to have Dr. Jack here to share about his journey, more about leadership, and how he has created a transformative movement here. So with that, I'd like to hand over to Dr. Jack to actually share on his presentation. So Jack, over to you, please.
Hello, thank you very much. So, can Nazira put the PowerPoint? Yes. Today we'll talk about how to create an exponential mindset. Exponential means like you think really, really big, right? So, next slide. Our educational system up to now is always about remembering and then regurgitating. And knowledge used to be power, and answer used to be power, and grades used to be power, and certificate used to be power. So the art of asking questions today is now power, because in the chat GPT and generative GPT AI model, you only need to ask questions. You do not need to know content or remember, because knowledge keep on increasing, right? So if you know how to prompt rightly, then that's power. and our students are not taught to ask questions and to prompt. And if we want to become better, we need to understand human nature, understand how to design incentive, interpolate sectors, and we need to have all this gumption and rely on our gut feeling. And our feeling becomes much more accurate because everything becomes interpolated and more complicated. So you can't be a follower in the future. And if you still want to be a follower, you will be actually left behind. Next. So you see, arts can be designed with AI, right? Next. Music can be designed with AI, so they can trace all the best songs in the last 10 years, and they can say, if I combine this new, I will get a pop, a very popular song. And then the distribution and everything can be psychoanalyzed by the AI. And so if you are an expert, it's very hard to beat this. Right? Next. So eventually, script writing, movie making and all that, it's all can be automated, right? Next. So you cannot be a better robot. You can only be a better human being. And your competitive edge is to be a better human being. But the educational system teach you how to be a better robot, but you can't. Now that educational system is actually quite obsolete now because we're talking about empathy, mindset, emotional intelligence, effective communication, how to be curious, how to analyze, how to be leadership, how to negotiate, how to persuade. Right? Next. So if you look at this kind of qualities, it's basically in one word, it's called common sense, right? Which is not common nowadays. So my journey is that I failed everything at O level. I went to ITE, but then after that, I started 16 successful company in real estate development, in roof tile manufacturing, in bricks manufacturing, and in social work now with the World Toilet Organization and also the POP Hub. One of the project business I have done is the Australian International School at Lorong Chuan. So I built a 1 kilometer school with 3,500 students. And then eventually we sold it, right? So it doesn't say that if you fail in school and don't get a degree, you cannot make a lot of money. Actually, entrepreneurship doesn't require a certificate. Next. So after I retire, I look for a subject which is very neglected called toilet. And this is a photograph I've taken. A man defecating in the morning on the roadside, and a lot of men next to him along this road. And then there's a lot of girls over the other side every morning before sunrise. They went to defecate. And after sunset, again, when they start, they went to defecate. And this is because they don't have toilets, right? Next. So this problem is like 2 million children die of diarrhea because the flies goes onto the poop and spread into their food and also their feet, their fingers. And there's nobody solving this problem because the subject is ugly. And people like to solve elegant, charismatic problems. Next. So I created the World Toilet Organization on 19 November in 2001 and called ourselves the other WTO. Next. By speaking about it, we can improve because what we don't discuss, we cannot improve. Next. So we started World Toilet Organization in Singapore and then went to Korea. The world members and governments keep joining in. Next. Went to China, Beijing, then Belfast, then next. We have World Toilet Summit in Moscow next. And in India, by the time the India government, president of India hosted World Toilet Summit, I still have not employed anybody. I was just alone running this global movement. So it's actually very possible to run a whole global movement without any resources, just a one man. And next, and we keep on going. The Crown Prince of the Netherlands also came to help, and now he's the king. So a lot of people just came to support. Although I don't have any power, authority, or finance or status, it's just that I convene the space and create it so that they can speak about it, right? It's like giving permission to other people to talk about the subject. Next. We went to South Africa next. And then the 4 years ago, we were in Brazil, and in Brazil, 50% of their sewage from the toilet, after they flush, it flushed to the river. So they don't have treatment. So we propose that they have a public-private partnership and attract foreign investors. So they changed the law after my lobbying with the senators. They changed the law, and the money flowed in now is 10 billion US dollar, more than the 4.5 here. So the money has helped them treat their sewage. So by 2035, we expect $150 billion. So this is just a start. Next. And last year, the president of Nigeria graced our World Toilet Summit, and the Minister of Water Resource was our host. And number two, in the UN, Amina Mohammed also came online. So this is the kind of legitimacy that you can create if you are a storyteller and you can mobilize all these people to solve the problem in their own country to help them. Right? Next. President Clinton also came to help on fundraising. Next. Time Magazine named me Hero of the Environment in 2008 for the work. So the name is actually on the front page. Next. And Matt Damon came to celebrate World Toilet Day. So we just declare our founding day, World Toilet Day, and everybody start to celebrate our founding day, World Toilet Day. Yeah. Next. And Bill Gates started to realize that prevention is cheaper than cure. So he create this reinventing toilet project that introduced new technology, new standards. And the thing is that when a big guy like him join into a non-charismatic subject, it becomes charismatic. Next. So what I've done is that I use other people's money, other people's talent, authority, time, power, brand, and align all their aspiration into an ecosystem. So in a sense, mutual exploitation is collaboration, and collective selfishness is selflessness. Next. So I went to the UN and lobby for the adoption of our founding day as the official UN World Toilet Day. This is the first time Singapore has ever tabled a UN resolution by ourselves. Next. And we received a unanimous vote from 193 countries, and it was inscribed that by the UN General Assembly that our founding day, 19 November, became an official UN World Toilet Day. So that day is like a legacy, and every year all the government will commemorate and take action and announce policy. And so sanitation have a life of its own now because it's legit. Next. In India, Salman Khan, this is like a top Bollywood star, start fundraising for us on national television. Next. And Prime Minister Modi won landslide victory in election, promising people to build toilet for every family. And he completed 110 million toilets. So in these two flag official photograph, he came to thank me when he visited Singapore. Next. So when we saw people, there are sewer diver in India that they maintain the sewer when it's choked. They have to dive into the manhole and immerse themselves completely with shit, and they can't even see, right? They just go and pull out whatever is choked, and we think this is a very inhumane job. So we work with Harpic. That means the people who are producing the bleach, Harpic and Dettol, owned by Racket, and we created the World Toilet Colleges in India. And this, we have trained 75,000 professional cleaners right now. Next. So Jay-Z and Coldplay perform to 80,000 free tickets in Mumbai on World Toilet Day. Next. So you know, it's really, really big event, and they are using World Toilet Day auspices to celebrate and to educate the people about this. Anyway, Coldplay is coming to Singapore. I think the tickets are sold out already. Next. Then China, President Xi Jinping started the China toilet revolution. He said actually every country has toilet problems. And now it's legit, then everybody start to take action. So of course I changed my clothing into another kind of activist. Next. In China, we started building rainbow school toilet. Rural toilet are very dirty, no flush system, and no privacy, no partition. So we went to build rainbow school toilet. Next. And then in Japan, I wrote my autobiography that sold right now about 20,000 copies. And then the Japanese start to understand about the sanitation movement that we create. And this is aligned with the UN Sustainability Development Goal. And also we start talking about menstrual hygiene now, because that's also another taboo subject. Next. So Queen Elizabeth in 2018, before she passed away, gave me a Commonwealth Points of Light award. So every time this type of award, it create legitimacy for the work that I do, right? Because my work is basically quite disgusting, like this shit. So when all these other elegant people endorse it, it helps. Next. And in India, they created a movie called Toilet, A Love Story. And this is a big blockbuster, and it helps people understand about toilet. Every time they open up this subject, more people understand. And I also wrote my own movie and asked Jack Neo to produce it. So together we made this movie called Everybody's Business, 人人有份. And it was in the Singapore cinema. It didn't make money. It actually lost some money, but it's the government money. So yeah, I tried. It's my first time I make a movie. Next. So my own movie documentary you can watch on Amazon Prime and all the other channels. Mr. Toilet, the world #2 man. Yeah. And so the way we tell the story is very humorous, but also very heartrending. So I think that the people get it. You know, we went to Cannes Lions Festival, Sundance Festival. Next. The UN also celebrate our World Toilet Day on our 20th anniversary, and they make stamps for us. So this is like really big deal, because UN published stamp for World Toilet Day. Right? Next. So over the last 23 years of work, 2.5 billion people have toilet, 193 countries celebrate every year on World Toilet Day. Taboo is broken, 3 billion audience per year. So 3 billion audience is like one Gangnam Style per year. So Gangnam Style is gone, but we are here, and every year we have that amount of audience. And we have 19 World Toilet Summit that have legacies left behind in each of these countries. And our media budget is zero because we have no money, right? So there are other ideas coming up every every year. Next. Next. Yeah, so roughly it's like using powerful storytelling, we can get media, their readership and advertising income, politicians, their votes, policy makers, the cost benefit analysis, and which is provided by the academia who does the research and publication. Then the celebrities come in to spice it up, and the donor gave money because of visibility. And when there's money, the NGOs come. So people get toilet just by orchestrating everybody else. Except us, we don't get money. We help them get it. Right? Next. So now doing some exercise on thinking. If you do like connect 1 to 30, you actually will have a chicken. This is kindergarten. They will ask you to do that. But if you are a visionary, right? Next. If you are a visionary, you actually don't see a chicken yet. And you have to explain to people the future, there is a chicken and it looks like a certain way. And if your storytelling is very accurate and very convincing, then next, then the people will see a chicken. But if you are not convincing, they will not see anything because it haven't happened yet. So in visionary thinking, you have to be able to be quite picturesque in the way you are describing the future. Yeah, next. So once they are convinced and they bought into your vision of the future, then they become a potato. So next, so when you plant the potato in the ground, you grow many other potatoes. Next, and as you start to grow the potato, it becomes a repeat pattern, and then everything grows by fractal. You see, this shell is a repeat pattern. You will see a tree is also a repeat pattern. Nature grow by fractals, and ideas grow by fractals too. So if we keep on making other people pick the subject and grow themselves, it will grow very fast. You can't do it yourself. If you do it yourself, you will be limited. So you keep on encouraging other people to grow. Next. And eventually you will bloom into a movement. And most of the movement will not be done by you, but you trigger it and you continue to trigger them until they have a life of its own. Yeah. Next. So if everybody is a rock star, then who are you? Next. You are actually the background noise. And if you're willing to be the background noise, then you can create the rock star. Next. So after doing World Toilet Organization is still going on, is still doing a good job, and more people have toilet. Now I also wanted to do another solution for 4 billion people who are earning less than $8 a day. And these are poor people. So I want to lift them up from the bottom of the pyramid. So we created this base of pyramid hub, BOP hub, right? And we think that it can be transformed into business. Next. So in the same way, if we get all the government and development bank and UN group and companies, foundation work together like a Swiss watch, we will get efficiency. Right now, there's no efficiency. The whole world is working by themselves, fragmented. That's why things fail and we have so many poor people. Next. So how do we solve problem? The easiest way is to copy the problem, the solution that are already found. So innovation is 90% failure and copying is 90% success. So there are already 4,000 social entrepreneurs in the world branded with proven model. So we want to copy what they have learned. And then every time you have one solution, send it to thousands of other new locations. And then the solution will turn into a marketplace. Next. Next. Yeah, next. Yeah. So when you take a community, then you take all the solution, then you take all the players next. Then you take all the players, then it becomes like an ecosystem, right? And you have to think every person in a farm will need to learn about agriculture, but need to find finance for it, need to have energy, solar energy to run the equipment, need to have some IT, need to have health for his family, housing, education, logistic, transportation. So everything has to be cross-sector together, and we cannot solve poverty by just supplying water or just supplying education. We have to do all of it together. Next. So at MRT, the UBI MRT, I built this $10 million, 65,000 square foot World Trade Center for the Poor, which we call the SDG Center. And I was hoping that this would actually, you know, be a very bustling place where deals are done. Then once it's completed, COVID came and it became a empty building. So I lost a lot of money, and now it's roughly about 60% full. And please come and visit us and let's discuss how to solve this problem. Next. So lastly, I want to tell you why the world is approaching solutions very different, very wrongly. We always thought about masculine, being a hero, being a macho guy, and even the girls are taught how to be macho, and that's why the problem cannot be solved because people become very self-centered, right? As you can see, a lot of selfie actually signal of self-centeredness. Next. The basic solution, if you go by a feminine approach like a mother, is to take care of the whole family. And when the children are successful, the mother is proud. But the mother doesn't want to claim the credit. The mother is happy that the family is successful. So if we were to be happy that other people are successful, I think this would be a much more a scalable model than the masculine model. Next. So if you look at the forest with all the animals and trees and rivers and mountains, and there is no winner or loser. If the Disneyland tell you the lion is the king of the jungle, it's nonsense. There's no such thing as king of the jungle. They are just there and in an ecosystem, and no no waste, zero waste. Everybody's shit becomes a fertilizer, grow some crop for somebody else to eat or get shade from. So we have to run our global economy like the forest. Next. So in the future, education needs to go for soft skill, curiosity, courage, compassion, commitment, community, collaboration, communication. Because you cannot be a better robot, you have to be a better human being. And all this, the school doesn't want to teach you. That's why the school is going to teach you something that's completely useless, or not completely, but largely useless, right? So if you think whatever the school teach you will be replaced by the robot, then you don't have a job. So you have to learn this kind of thing, right? Next. This is the last slide. Lee Kuan Yew in 1966, that means 1 year after our independence, says, the idea of a cultivated mind, of a person creatively working his own intellect, is something which we have lost. 1966, we have lost, right? How do we move away from the technique of cramming for the purpose of passing examination to the process of giving a boy and a girl something which will be self-generating? So he asked this question, and today we're still cramming people into passing examination. So actually we didn't succeed, right? The good thing to know is no other country has succeeded anyway. They are all doing the same wrong thing. that means there's an opportunity for us to do it right. And this is, I hope, plant some seed in your mind. And now we can go to question. Thank you very much. Next.
So, audience online, we hope that you have a better understanding of what Dr. Jack has done. If I may just quickly summarize what we have heard from him. On the education front, the need for common sense, which is not so common these days. Empathy, being able to ask questions or even prompting them. While we say knowledge is power, the truth is there's so many changes these days, including the most recent one we have just encountered, AI, technology. So there's definitely this need to change, this impetus. Besides education, he also talked about the sanitation work he has done under World Toilet Movement, and also the base of the pyramid. These are the key elements that he has done in work, and we'll be sharing more about it later. So if I can show you his slide on some of the key milestones we have, let's go back to the slide. So Jack has shared a lot of what he has done. We have only summarized some of the key milestones, not all. So it started from where he said that he did not do well in his O levels, the education, the first circle you see in green. But at the same time, he has also continued to upskill himself, and he actually obtained a master's in public administration much later, the second green dot you see on the flow chart. The two yellow dots you see are actually the two organizations that he has established. World Toilet Organization related to sanitation, which also works in the element of health and education. And the other organization, which is the base of the pyramid, aiming to elevate poverty for close to 4 billion people in the world, living less than $8 a day. So Jack, a lot of things you have done, and like what you mentioned about having people to actually to share all these things, legitimize the work you do, even though the work you do may not be a very rosy, a very good smelling topic. I would say kudos to you to all the decades of work, and especially you said that you started off alone. You brought Singapore to a global platform. Yeah. So with that, let's actually start with the question. First thing is, Jack, you are a man of many identities. You wear many hats, so we'd like to know a bit more about you in person. Some of the work you do are a social entrepreneur, an activist, an educator, a movie director, a storyteller. If you were to just pick one of this, which one gives you the most surprise in life?
It's basically to be a naughty boy, you know. You just keep on doing things that they are not supposed to do. And sometimes I tell the NEA that they didn't clean up the toilet because they protect the coffee shop owner instead of they're always blaming the user. They should find the coffee shop owner, and they get really upset, and they kind of give an order to all their staff not to talk to Jack Sim. You see, sometimes you want to solve problem, but people don't like you, and you have to say it's okay lah. If they don't like me, I still carry on doing. You have to be able to be a naughty boy, to to keep on thinking, if this is not right, I will do it. And if eventually they don't listen, then other people will tell them that that's not right too.
Thanks for sharing. So we definitely need people who actually surface out what needs to be done. And while you use the word naughty boy, I would say you are the one that brought the topic on sanitation, which was taboo like 2-3 decades ago, but you brought it to the limelight and to everyone's attention. So there's definitely more work to be done. It's never complete. But let's also understand you a bit more. I know you have a personal motto in life, which is called to live a useful life. Can you just share, how do you come up with it? And how do you stay on track?
So basically, time is very short in life, right? You get like 80 years to live. So everybody gets a quota of 80, 85 years. And if you use that up, then you are dead, right? So it's actually a currency itself. And so I download an app on my phone to to see how many days I have every day left before I die. Like today, I've got 4, 8, 4,894, right? 4,894 days before I die. So on my 80th birthday. So I saw Dr. Varaprasad also in the audience. I don't know if he's now thinking of the 80th birthday. But the basic thing is we all die. And so how do you make full use of your life while you are alive? So this is key. A lot of time people think about making money. Actually, after a certain point, if you live a simple life, you don't need a lot of money, especially after the children graduated and go to work themselves. Right? You have to use your time to do better work. So I retire at 40 to live a useful life. I'm so paranoid that the time is wasted and I did nothing for one day. I relaxed too much. So I'm very worried about that. Every day I'm trying to be useful.
Yep. Thank you for sharing. So if I may just like pick on, highlight what you say. So you are so scared that you might waste a day and you want to make sure everything is useful. What happens when people tell you you need to relax, you need to recharge so that you can move faster moving forward? How do you respond to such comments? Take a break before you go.
Actually, the work itself is the battery charger. It's the thing that motivates you, right? And if you relax, then you're actually losing energy. So it depends what you do, right? If you hate your job, of course, then you have to relax because that is a chore. If it's a chore, actually, you shouldn't even be in that job. You should resign and go and find something you really like. Right? But the work itself is very nice. And of course, the family, lah. The family, if you want to recharge, just hug the family, hug the wife, hug the children, then you get recharged very fast. So I think purpose will give you fun, fun will give you energy.
Thank you for sharing. So it's like we all have like personal values, priorities in life, and it's really great to hear from you. You have done so much, and what is your key principles in life? So time, very important. You have a countdown timer until 80 years old, and to you, work is fun. It charges you. So we have a few more questions coming about your work. Let me just ask one last question about like what you have done so far first before we open up to the audience. So far, have you ever encountered any major setbacks and you felt like, I might need to pause? And how do you actually overcome this obstacle in life?
So setback is every day lah. It's not like it just come once a while. It's all the time. For example, I would come out with ideas like I want to do a symphony in P minor and will go and convince the SSO. And then they asked me to raise $60,000 and I tried my best. I raised only a few $1,000s. So until now, I still could not do that. But I say this type of thing are not failure. They are called work in progress, you see. So you keep whatever is not yet successful, and you wait for it to happen. So I'm looking for anime cartoonists to create a cartoon series with me. I haven't found. I've written a Bollywood movie. Until now, I have succeeded in getting script writer to finish the script. So now we are pitching for the investor and the Bollywood star in India. So there are many things that are work in progress simultaneously. Sarika is on this group and she works for me. She tolerates a lot of crazy ideas that I do every time. But if you try many things, then something ought to succeed, right? Let's say at one time I tried 100 things simultaneously. Then every 1 or 2 months, something will become very successful. Right? For example, I went to solve a problem, took 3 years to end the mafia from overcharging the construction worker from Bangladesh coming here. They have to pay like $15,000, $10,000 to come to Singapore to work. And everything is arranged by the mafia in Bangladesh. So how do you solve this problem? You can see it's very unfair. So I went to Minister Desmond Lee, and then I went to the Asia Philanthropy Circle, and we went to coordinate Bangladesh NGO, and eventually we solved this problem after 3 years, right? But the one thing that I'm very disappointed is that the coffee shop toilet cannot be clean, and I starting to believe that it can never be clean because the coffee shop owner are so powerful that the NEA is afraid to fine them. Therefore, they keep it dirty, they save money. They don't have to clean it, and they won't get fined. So every month that they don't clean it, they save about $2,000. So the coffee shop owner prefer it to be dirty. So I think it will never be solved for the next 1 million years. I think it will not be solved. So there are certain things that I do get disappointed, but most of the time I just get busy with other things.
Thank you for sharing. So while obstacles are there, always going to be there, is how we actually acknowledge them. They could be still work in progress, but we should continue to generate new ideas and continue to work on it. No doubt there are some issues that may never be solved, but we have to ask ourselves, have we actually put in our best to actually address it? Like how Jack actually founded the Restroom Association first before World Toilet Organization. So thanks for sharing about your mindset and also like how it was like for you in the past. Now let's talk a bit more about your work. So I'm going to focus on the two entities a bit more, World Toilet Organization and Base of Pyramid. You mentioned that you first started off as a single person, like other WTO, so zero media budget and all. So what inspired you to actually work with toilets first?
So the thing that nobody wants to do will be the most important thing to do because it's neglected. The thing that everybody wants to do, then I shouldn't do. For example, today, all this carbon thing, so much money is there in climate change, then I'll let the other people do. So during my time, there's AIDS, there's a lot of money, and so people work on NGO work on things that get funded. For me, because I don't need a salary, I look for things that are not funded. And right now we only employ one full-time staff, Sarika here, and then a part-time staff to solve the governance and bookkeeping. You know, we don't have much money, so there's not much bookkeeping to do. And that's it. And next month we will have our second staff, which simply means we have 100% increase in manpower. 2 full-time staff next month. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. So sometimes being lean and also agile, and like what you mentioned about if the problem has not been addressed by anyone or untouched by anyone, so there's actually a stronger demand and we should just enter in that area. It's like resource allocation from an economics point of view. So if I may just highlight,
like for example, you get this Temasek Trust and all these big philanthropies in Singapore. They don't want to fund us because our work is not charismatic. It's brown issue. People want to fund green issue, trees, mountains, you know, animals, cats, dogs, children. They want to fund blue issue, water. So non-charismatic issue, no matter how hard you work, no matter how successful you are, you will never get funding. And this is just the life I chose.
Yeah. Thank you for taking on a very challenging task. Like what you say, it may be a non-charismatic topic, but that's where the charisma of a leader comes in, and we do see you at work. So if I may just state the vision of World Toilet Organization, a world with a clean, safe toilet for everyone, everywhere at all times. So that is from the website. How far do you think we're away from this vision that World Toilet Organization has set off for themselves?
I give you an example. In China, the toilet culture was very, very bad in 2004. When we went to prepare them for the Olympics, all the toilets have to be cleaned for the foreigners to come. So we worked very hard and renovated 6,000 public toilet blocks for tourism block and hutong toilets. After that, the entire China tourism bureaus in all the different provinces and cities start to realize that clean toilet actually attract tourists and they can make money from that. And today, if you go to China, first tier, second tier, third tier city, 100% clean toilet, you know. So the cultural change is possible, it's tremendous. In fact, I'm very, very ashamed of Singapore because we cannot catch up with China. And we continue to have very dirty toilets. And in the future, we cannot call ourselves a livable city, right? Whereas if you see the type of change in Prime Minister Modi, people have no toilet. He built 110 million toilet, but he also changed the culture of people wanting to improve their toilet condition. So I think that the world is rising, is getting better. Now the next stage is to do something called safely managed sanitation, which means you have toilet, but is the shit treated properly? So this part, still 50% of the world don't have. They flush to the river, you see. So as I explained in the Brazilian situation, we solve it by changing policy with the Brazilian government. It's very easy for me to go and convince foreign government. It's very difficult for me to work in Singapore. So it's for me, most of the time I'm outside.
Thank you for sharing. So one of the questions we received from participants was, is WTO looking at how to treat the human waste? So I'm hearing that it's actually on your radar.
Yeah, because technologies, everything are available. It's just the political priorities. Like, because politicians will say, I've got so many things to do, which one do I do first? So what my job is to tell them that sanitation is one of the first thing, because once you have healthy people, you can be productive, you can train them with skill, you can attract investor and offer them the cheap labor who are intelligent and all that. So if you're a whole nation of sick people, how are you going to attract foreign investment? And then if you have clean toilet, you get a lot of tourism income. And if you have a not treated one, the river will be dirty and you make more people sick. So I have to price all the externality. Right now I'm working with the Asian Development Bank, and we're creating an app to price all the negative externality of not having toilet, and then we'll prove to the government and convince them to prioritize it. So for example, now we are appointed by Mongolian government to solve the sanitation design for the entire country of Mongolia, but it's only 3 million people, but very interesting project. So we are there to help any country to change policy, to have technological solution. And where do we get it? We get it from the people who know, and then we assemble them together.
Thank you for sharing on the approach that you have undertaken. So like what I did in the introduction, it's not just about the toilet, it's the whole sanitation value chain, and you need to get the correct stakeholders involved. So you mentioned about getting policymakers, showing them the political rewards, making sure they have the policy will, and it can lead to policy changes. Let's talk a bit more about working with local stakeholders. The other entity that we'd like to focus on is actually the base of the pyramid, which actually serves those largely in rural area, the lower income, underserved, informal economy. So how do you actually convince your local partners to actually say that this is the best approach for them? Or have you met any challenges in approaching them to launch what you will do?
Actually, if you look at how Singapore turned from third world to first world, the same model is copied in China. And China got 820 million people out of poverty in the last 30 years using market-based solution like Singapore. When Singapore was independent, the British, the American, they want to give us foreign aid. But Lee Kuan Yew said, no, I don't want foreign aid. I want foreign investment. Why? Because foreign aid means that they will control you. Then you will be dependent on them. foreign investment means that we're using our own hands and leg and brain, and we are training our people. So if you look at Rwanda, they call themselves the Singapore of Africa, and they became the fastest growing state in Africa. So our model is exportable. Our principle, our government policies, housing, CPF, everything we can export, right? So therefore, if you look at recently the Niger military coup, France was installing a puppet president in Niger, and the president have to listen to everything that Macron say. But when the military overthrow that president, they say it's no democracy, but actually it's better than democracy, because there's no democracy when it's a puppet leader. And if Niger don't have to sell their uranium to France at 50 cents per kilo when the market price is $18, that is bullying. The France is buying at 50 cents. So now if they can sell at $18, the country get rich. So how do you get poor people out of poverty? When their products is able to fetch good prices. Look at the oil producing country. They add a good prices, they become rich. Look at Saudi Arabia, is so rich because they price it high. Indonesia doesn't want to export timber, they want to export furniture. So when you export furniture, you create jobs for the Indonesian workers, industry, design, production. So it's the same. All the people, why do they want to produce rice, unpolished rice with the husk, and then get other people to do it? Why don't they produce snacks? Why don't they produce end products? So if every developing country says, you cannot buy my product, you have to invest factory here and process it and brand it and package it, then they will become rich. So a lot of policy can be done.
Thanks, Jeff, for sharing. So I'm hearing a lot of it's a market-oriented economics, and even at the national level. So definitely policy making involves a lot of politics, and the humans factor are definitely a critical ones. So coming back to this thing about education in sanitation. So a participant is asking, let's look at toilets in school, sanitation in schools. How do we actually educate students and even teachers, or like just the education personnel in the school setting, to actually like maintain the hygiene?
So there was one time when the school toilet are very smelly, and I went to Taman. He was the educational minister, and I said that actually I have 4 kids in school, and they're all telling me the school toilet are very smelly, and then they ask their cousins, and all the other kids are saying the same thing. So they are suppressing urination and they don't go to the toilet, and it's not good for the health, right? I just talked to Kidney Foundation recently. They say suppressing urination actually spoil your kidney, right? So Taman sent me to the people in charge of the real estate, and they say that if you say my toilet is smelly, I will not work with you. I want you to praise me, and you have to say that my toilet is very good and we are going to improve. So I say it's not possible to tell a lie, you know. So I went back to Taman and said, this guy is like threatening me, you know. So eventually they say, oh, we're not in charge anymore. You just go to the school yourself. So I have to go to each of these schools and tell the principal in a different way. I said, if the students are suppressing urination, the grades are not going to be good because they cannot concentrate. And the principal, hearing that the grades will be affected, start to become interested. So when you tell people, you tell them according to what's their sweet spot, like that.
Largely, it's like broadly speaking, what is important to them, and therefore everyone has to solve the issue together. So
but mostly not the government. The government will do what is called work avoidance. You tell them to do something, they'll avoid it. Then
Yeah,
They
thank you.
weren't.
So I think your example shared was Singapore. What about for the other countries that you have worked with? Because like I know about the Rainbow School in China. Are there any examples you can share, positive examples on how do they actually inculcate the students and the education personnel to actually maintain good hygiene so that the
So
infrastructure can be
we
well
get
kept?
the student to clean it. We actually train the student to clean it, and the students are very happy to clean it because it's a big improvement. And then they tell other students, don't dirty it because next week will be your turn. So everybody take care of it. So after a year, we went back. It was very, very clean. And then because we have only raised money for 17 schools in China, in Henan province, we actually gave the model to the Ministry of Education in China, and they use it to implement for 215,000 schools. So that is scalability. You don't do things yourself. You make models, and then you ask other people to copy.
Thanks for sharing. So definitely I hear about shared responsibility, like this week is your turn, next week is someone else's turn, but everyone is in this together so that we benefit each other best. And also about the scalability of the model. So thanks for sharing about a lot of the work you've done, and definitely it's just beyond Singapore, so there's also other countries, although we do hear and acknowledge the conditions that you have shared so much and the challenges you still face here. So now I'd like to move on to you as a leader. You know, you have done a lot of work. How would you describe yourself as a leader in general?
I think it's a servant, not a leader. So you look at a problem, and if you stare at the problem long enough, the problem will tell you the solution. So all solutions are guided by the problem. So if you start to look at the problem and imagine when the problem is solved, then how will it look like? Then it will of course look very beautiful, but you must see that end result clearly. Then that will tell you where you want to go and what you have to do. So the problem, the vision, and these two things will tell you what to do. And then you don't have the resource, then you start to invite other people to join in. But most people would not be very deep. So you got to use a bit of them each. But once they start to get excited, right? Once a while, you will get the person who is really, really committed. And maybe you try 20 times, you get one. And if you're lucky, and then you get a lot done that way. And I always work with volunteers. So if any of the audience want to volunteer, if you are serious, please come.
Thanks, Jack. So I'm hearing that you stare at the problem and then you think of what to do and try to involve and get more people on the same bandwagon as you. So this question came about is more specific to your personal background. Do you think because you achieve your millionaire status in life and therefore money is not a big issue, so that's why it's easier for you to focus on what you said you're doing? Because in a real world context,
it helps when you don't have to worry too much about money. But I will tell you on the reverse. I know a lot of rich people who worry about money every day. Because they are worried that they only have like 100 million and they're so poor, you know. They're not even a billionaire. And like really, really feel so miserable about their performance, right? And the billionaire might say that I'm still not Elon Musk, you know. I'm only 1 billion. It's horrible. Other people are, you know, 30 billion. So I'm very poor. So poverty in the mind is very relative. But once your stomach is full, you have a place to sleep, I think you should have the freedom to choose.
thank you for sharing. So we do know that sometimes it's a relative game, if I may call it. After the millions, you chase after the billions. After the billions, what's next?
No end. No end.
No end.
But
No
if you don't have $1 million but you want to volunteer, nobody's stopping you.
So how will you actually best convince or encourage those millionaires and billionaires who actually say that you could consider doing good in this aspect? What would you say?
I think rich people have some needs to to show to their friends that they are also kind. And there are many ways they do it. Sometimes they set up a foundation to escape tax and to show that they are kind by escaping tax. So that's one way. Other ways is that they give to charity, which is very often. Sometimes they give on condition that, you put my father's name on the hall or put a statue here and there and naming rights and all that. They have these needs. And then some of them are really nice and altruistic. So they don't want their name back there. And then all the rest in between. So human beings are very different, right? So one thing to know is that to get money from rich people is very difficult. It's easier to get help from ordinary people. Rich people somehow live in a world where they don't want to get in touch with you. They live in a bubble. So you might not be able to reach out to them. They're very scared of you. They're very scared of ordinary people.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. It's really like your experience because you have been in the field for more than 2 decades, and like where you started off with 0 full-time staff except yourself, and it's really a lot of it self-funded. So this is really your own experience, and we do hope that more people will join the bandwagon regardless of income, but it's really more of interest and passion to serve also. Yeah, we actually had someone to actually say who they would like to find out more about your models of volunteering and all. So definitely we hope that this dialogue can actually connect more people and let people be more aware of the need to serve. Now,
very easy to find me on LinkedIn. You just Mr. Toilet or Jack Sim. You will find very easy to find. Or you just type Jack Sim at worldtoilet.org. Yeah, very easy to find me.
Thank you. So I just want to find out more because in your field of work, there's a lot of volunteers who join you on the job. So specific to the youth, how do we actually get more youth to join this advocacy movement that you're leading?
So youth, there are many types. Youth have a few problems. One is that they have exams and then they'll volunteer for a while, then suddenly they disappear and then they'll come back again or never come back. So very episodal, right? They are not very stable. They've got many things, like got the girlfriend time to spend, and they got a lot of time struggle. Once I think for youth episode, though, volunteerism could be good. Like means we craft a particular period, finish this project, and then if you want to stay, it's up to you. But at least you've done it. Something like that. I think the midlife people tends to have more stability. They also have a lot of network. They have good friends, and they have at least many of them have money so they don't donate very seldom they donate, but they donate their time.
Thank you so much. So definitely we're not just looking at youth, but everyone from every age band, every walks of life to actually contribute so that we can all improve the society better. So now I would like to do a poll with the audience specific to a quote that Jack mentioned. So let's have this quote about innovation is 90% failure and copying is 90% success. So Jack, you have shared this quote earlier, but let's actually poll the audience quickly. What do they think of it? So audience, a Zoom poll will pop out on a scale of 1 to 5 if you strongly agree with this statement, or do you strongly disagree? So let's give our participants 30 seconds to actually respond to this Zoom poll first. Thank you. So the results are out. We have more than half, which is 54% saying that they agree or strongly agree, around 23% neutral. So this is just a snapshot, and every statement definitely has to be taken into context. Like how Jack explained, it was for the social business so that they can actually replicate in other countries to utilize resources more. So my question specific to this quote is, looking at the statement, innovation is 90% failure. Does it actually conflict with what schools are trying to teach, whereby we're trying to teach children to be students, to be creative, to be innovative, to think out of the box?
You have to think out the box, but when you are implementing, it's always easier to take whoever is already have a solution and improve on it, right? So if you think about innovation like a trolley bag, it is actually wheels, which is invented, and luggage, which is invented. You just put the wheels underneath the luggage and you get trolley bag. So is that copy or invention? It's actually assembling things, right? So what I felt is that if you are able to copy and improve, it's better than breakthrough. But there need to be other people who are doing innovation. But perhaps if I'm in the social development sector, I don't have the funding to do research and innovation. I have to copy. And if there's so many to copy, why do I want to not copy? That will be unfair to the poor who needs the solutions.
So sometimes we need to hit the ground running with ready-made and proven tested solutions. So if I may just put my understanding across, a lot of it is the implementation. So we don't reinvent the wheel, let's do whatever has been done because it has been proven working and the societies do need the solution urgently. Yeah. This question came from the audience. So what to you currently, what is the best current innovation or best practice that society should copy and paste more in?
I think that currently the thing that you need to learn, which is a critical skill, is called prompt engineering, right? You need to know how to prompt the AI to give you answers. And I will tell you what is generative AI. It's actually copying. The AI will search in 3 seconds all the knowledge relevant to this particular question that you prompt them. And they will give you the answer. But the answer is not an original answer, it's an assembled answer. And basically AI just copy everything. When people write songs with AI, they get sued because it's actually copying somebody else's song, right? And so if you think this is today's computing speed, but this computing speed is going so fast that we will reach singularity one day, whereby the computing power will be same as human being, same level. That means you can talk to the computer as a very intelligent friend, right? But 2 years after singularity, the computer will be double the intelligence of human being. And every 2 years it doubles. So can you imagine if we go forward? So the year that they will actually be as good as human being is generally believed to be 2045, right? So if in 2045, the computer is the same intelligent as the most intelligent human being, then 2 years later will be double, and then double and double. So eventually, AI will reach a point called wisdom, which human being has never reached. And when AI reach wisdom, what will they do to us? They will look at us as if we are like the intelligence of a dog or a rat or something like that. Our intelligence compared to AI will be that difference, and what will happen to us? These are important things to understand. But I won't live till 2045, so I will die before that, and my life is better lah.
Thank you for sharing. Definitely technology improvements, leaps and bounds, right, has put a lot of pressure on all of us. How do we actually equip ourselves with better technical and being AI savvy and even learning new things. Like what Jack mentioned, we can't be a better robot, but we need to be a better human. So having all
And
this
the Ministry of Education, they're not changing, you know. I went to talk to the Director General and she understands this problem, but she can't change the system inside. And I tried to work with SIT, I tried to work with NUS. Nobody can change. The system is locked in. So even I talked to the chairman, I talked to the president of NUS, cannot be changed. So I think we're just doomed. So what we can say is that, well, other countries have also the same bureaucracy, they cannot change. So I guess Singapore will eventually change when they see that this is really dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you
But
for
maybe
sharing
when
about
it's too
your
early, you know, when
experience.
you suggest to them too early, they don't see the problem is imminent, you know. The Cantonese say, when you don't see the coffin, you don't believe there's a dead person, you know. So this is what's going to happen.
So by that time, it might be too late because the problem is right in our face.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing your experience about like approaching the key stakeholders in saying what can be changed in the system. We need to change now. So no doubt there might be some, if I may call it, resistance or even reluctance, but definitely overall, everyone has a part to play. So since you mentioned about the system level, let's go into the individual stakeholders. What about like working with school teachers, yourself, like working with like other community leaders? Has that actually helped to evoke a change that you desired to see in education?
I will say that whatever I want to change is always easier in other countries. I'll tell you why. Because when I go to other countries, I'm a foreign expert. When I'm in Singapore, prophets are not welcome at home. I'm a local person. And so, if we are so appreciative of foreign expert, then why don't I be a foreign expert and go to other countries? So I don't think I can do much in Singapore except to enjoy the whatever safety and good life here. Unfortunately, Singapore system is designed to discourage you from helping. They already can figure out everything and you shouldn't change their mind. So solving problem around the world like China, India, Brazil, Nigeria is much easier. Strangely, but true.
Thank you for sharing about this hurdle that you actually experienced. No doubt it's like, it might be a bit more challenging here as you shared. You have also brought Singapore to a global platform whereby our solutions, which work for us, could be cascaded down to other, could be translated to other countries also. So we do hope on a positive note, there will be more opportunities and also further work for you in Singapore. Yeah.
No,
So
I have
that
to retire soon, so it really doesn't matter. Other people will solve the Singapore problem because I'm already 66 and around 70 plus, I will have to retire and spend the time romancing my wife. And then there's no more my problem.
Thank you. So it's like it will be everyone on hands on deck to actually share what can be done better. So let's all keep this mindset to say that, yes, we want to deal with an issue. It may not be like what Jack mentioned as a sexy, a nice smelling cause, but we all can do our part in it. So Jack, you mentioned about this the statistics thing that you're computing with ADB to measure the economic outcomes. On a more personal note, how do you actually measure the impact of your own work? It goes back to your motto also, useful life. But how do you actually say that I have done?
To measure is cost money. So I use other people's statistics like UNICEF and World Health Organization. So it's true that 23 years ago, people don't talk about sanitation, and now they are very serious. And Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping and the President of Nigeria and Brazil, they are working on it. So it's also true that over the last 23 years, 2.5 billion people have toilets. So I think having started this movement, those are the counts, right? So I think the most important person to impress with all these statistics is myself. I felt happy. I felt an accomplishment. And because we are not chasing fundraising so much, we do not have the statistic to prove. We also do not need to pay money for this statistic. You know, if I get McKinsey to calculate this, it might cost like $1 million. So we might as well use the money, go and do the work. So generally, I would say that other things that has happened is that people start to realize that you don't need a big organization to make global change. So that is another thing that quite helpful for young people, especially when they don't have resources. And also everybody don't have much resources. The biggest NGO is not very big. So I think that people start to understand leverage model of social enterprise is possible.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So your work you have for the past 2 decades, it definitely has led to a lot of transformative movement. How do we see it is across countries, across industry. And you mentioned certain features like it doesn't have to be an extensive funding on your side. You work with partners. You convince them on what's the rewards, what's in it for them. And it must be sustainable. And the effects must go down to those that is meant to help, which is why the local community, through your base of the pyramid, aims to help the 4 billion poor. And like what you mentioned, satisfaction. Knowing what's important.
A lot of NGO, I'll tell you, to raise fund costs 50 cents per dollar if they are successful. A lot of them raised fund and couldn't raise the fund and actually lost money fundraising. So they have to employ a lot of fundraiser. And if the fundraiser are not clever enough, they actually lost that 50 cents they invested. And it's a very dangerous game, you know. The NGO thing, we need business model that are sustainable. You invest one time, train them, give them some working capital, then they can run it themselves. Then you coach them. If you go and employ consultant, they will be off immediately after they give you the bunch of papers or report. But for us, we can stay with them for a long time because we are not paid.
Yeah, thank you for sharing on your own experience on what works best, and definitely is sustainable funding from what I'm hearing. So I just have one last question for you. Okay, so if I may quote you at what you mentioned at United Nations UN General Assembly in 2013, whereby World Toilet Day was actually recognized. You said this: "Today I feel like a father at a wedding, and the bride's name is called Sanitation." That was 2013, 10 years ago. Fast forward to 10 years later, how do you feel about this relationship with your daughter, the bride?
I think that in one lifetime, we can create such a legacy, then life is worth living. So in fact, in 2013, I actually told myself, if tomorrow I die, at least I did something. So I think this is what is useful, what is going to have an impact on people. I think these are the values of life. Of course, the other thing is to be close to your family and to have a loving family, because this is your home base. That is very important. And relationship with family and relationship with society, I think this is what I chase. I drive a very old car, and I don't want to spend money. I want to spend time usefully.
Thank you so much for sharing. So definitely, as one experience different things in life, we chase after different things. We put different priorities in our life. But ultimately, what's important to you? What are you doing? Like Jack has mentioned about his personal journey, even though at age 16, he encountered a failure in terms of the academic achievements, but he has propelled himself in a different pathway, being a social entrepreneur, advocate for social causes, and even helping 4 billion poor through his base of pyramid. And not forgetting the World Toilet Movement, which was launched 23 years ago. And up till now, in 5 weeks' time, on 19 November, 193 countries we'll be celebrating World Toilet Day together. So Jack, is there anything special on World Toilet Day that you'll be doing in Singapore in 5 weeks' time?
No, I will be in Beijing with an international group of people. And next year, we hope to have a very big World Toilet Summit in China. So I think that in Singapore, they don't really celebrate World Toilet Day much because they're very afraid to talk about toilet. It's not very clean. So over next whole month, I will be in Namibia in Africa. This is the first time I'll go there. Then I'll be in Sao Paulo in Brazil. Then I'll go back to Beijing, and then I'll be in Taiwan. So you see, most of the time I'm outside the country because the world work around the world is really needed. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing about your whereabouts. And definitely this thing about sanitation issue is a global issue. So what Jack did in 2001 was actually to bring this issue to the table by breaking the taboo, getting people to speak about it. If not, whatever doesn't get spoken, doesn't get dealt with. So we'd like to thank Jack for his time today, because today we managed to catch him in Singapore and do this dialogue. And more importantly, to hear about his journey. Who does he work with in order to create this massive transformative movement? And what kind of leadership or leaders should he is, his own personal style. So to the audience in the room, thank you for your questions and getting involved in the poll. We hope this actually provides more information about Jack and the work he does. He has also shared how to reach him. So if you're interested, please do so. And now I would like to actually just quickly share on the 2 upcoming dialogues that we have in November. So this talk on 8 November is about lifelong learning. Typically, we say lifelong learning is to improve our economic capital. Let's think deeper. How might we equip lifelong learners greater autonomy and to place themselves at the center of this journey? So they will be actually conducted on 8 November, and please join us by registering in the chat, in the link posted in the chat. This is the 1st November dialogue. The second dialogue we'll be having is on 29 November. We live in a multi-generation world these days. Gen X, Gen Z, Millennials, Alpha, whatever you call it. So across these generations, there will be different mindsets and values. So we look into how the Confucian notion of Li offer insights to the different generations and also some of the modern problems that we encountered. So these are the 2 last dialogues that the Head Foundation will be having for the rest of the year. So we do hope that audience, please join us. But more importantly, today we had a very enjoyable time with Jack, learning about the work he has done in both sanitation, which relates to health, and also the importance of all this and the education elements of that. So with that, we'd like to say thank you to Jack once again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you, Jack, for your time. So, and to the audience, thank you for joining us. That will be the end of today's webinar.
Bye-bye.
I hope you had a good time. Thank you.